At the University of Arizona Bio5 Institute, we are focused on tackling complex challenges such as disease, hunger, water and food safety, and other health and environmental issues facing our families, communities, and the world. Bio5 brings together hundreds of multifaceted experts that include world-class scientists, engineers, physicians, and computational researchers in a team science environment designed to creatively solve difficult problems. This approach has resulted in disease prevention strategies, promising new therapies, innovative diagnostics and devices, and improved food crops. Join us each week as we talk about science with researchers, staff, and students from the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Science Talks, a conversation hosted by the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute. My name is Sean Caden.
And I'm Brooke Moreno.
And at the Bio5 Institute, we are passionate about optimizing human health and improving the quality of life. One of the ways we do this is through our Precision Nutrition and Wellness Initiative, which is hosting a public virtual seminar series from February to June called the Precision Wellness in the Time of COVID-19. Today, we'll be talking with Dr. Chilton, Precision Nutrition and Wellness Director and Bio5 Associate Director, about his upcoming lecture on wellness during the pandemic. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Dr. Chilton, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
It's my honor. It's great to be with you guys.
So I have to ask, and maybe I'm the last one to know this. Your first name is Floyd, but you go by Ski, and maybe everyone knows this already, but I do not. Maybe our listeners do not. How do you come by the name of Ski?
I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains on the North Carolina-Virginia border, and we grew up extraordinarily poor on a small tobacco farm, 8-acre tobacco farm. And
Wow.
we had this one person in the family, and he was a physician, and he had done very well. And his name was Ski, and Mom said that she named me Ski, hoping that I might amount to something.
Well, and we feel like you have.
Well,
See,
the jury's still out, but
the jury's still out.
but I'm still quite hopeful.
Well, we always have to strive for something, right?
That's right.
It's like success and happiness are a journey, not a destination. You probably heard that. So great.
So when you're disappointing to your mother, does she refer to you as Floyd?
I tell people I go all over Africa. I spend a lot of time in Sudan. I'm not afraid of much, but the one thing I'm afraid of, because I don't want to disappoint, is my mother.
Wow. Wow. I hope she's going to watch this. Yeah.
Oh, she'll feel so good.
Oh, that's great. So we're going to jump into a few questions here regarding the precision wellness. I know the ones that you've been a part of the past are probably going to be a little bit different than the ones that are coming up. What would you say would be one thing that you would like people to take away, if one thing or a couple of things that are the most important things to concentrate what they would take away from these precision wellness events?
There's a lot of confusion. I mean, there's a lot of confusion even within the scientific community. There's a lot of confusion in my neighborhood, among my neighbors. And I constantly hear these questions, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or what about this? And I think the what abouts are even within our scientific community. And as we see these new potentially vaccine evading variants, as we see, what does it mean for, a vaccine to be able, or a variant to be able to evade a vaccine? In my case, what does it mean that about, 10 to 15% of people get very, very sick, and 5% or so of people die? What brings about that death? What is the cause of that death? I mean, we see this inflammatory storm, and we see infection, and then we see inflammatory dysfunction, and we see in these severe people multiple organ failure and death. What's between that? What is the driver of that? Because the only way that we can find therapies, specific therapies for this, is to understand those molecular and cellular events. And then at the end, we have Dr. Ruse, who's going to give a great talk on the psychosocial aspects of COVID. So, we go all the way from Mike Warby at the beginning, who is arguably, the most well-known person in the world on the variants themselves. And then we get into some epidemiology and what it means, and, why does it increase so rapidly sometimes and not others. And then we get into talks like mine, which are around host tolerance. Why do people die? What is the molecular mechanisms that are killing people? And then we end up in the psychosocial aspects. And we're all doing everything we can to really talk about this in a way that not only scientists understand, but it's the whatabouts in my neighborhood that can watch this and go, oh, wow, that's the what about. That's the answer to that what about.
Oh, the $1 million question, or series of questions, right?
Right.
I think that's kind of the biggest piece, or maybe lack of peace, that's going around in our media right now, are the stories that folks are kind of creating for themselves to piece together these questions, answers to questions that we don't have yet. And so it's cool that this initiative is that this seminar, this series is really bringing together the big picture, right? From Dr. Warby's work down to the molecular work that you're working on. But that's a great segue. So how have you adapted your research and your resources to tackle COVID-19 and bring this to the series that you're leading?
Well, Brooke, that's such a good question, because I'm not an infectious disease doc. But I've spent my life working on inflammation. And inflammation as it relates to cardiovascular disease, cardiometabolic disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease. So it's really been this focus on inflammation as a driver of almost everything. And so we were just so fortunate to have collaborated with some individuals at Stony Brook in New York, and they provided us about 365 blood samples from patients, either COVID negative or mild or severe, or patients that had deceased. And we do something in my lab called Metabolomics, and it uses a fancy schmancy $1 million mass spectrometer machine, and it spits out about 2,500 to 3,000 metabolites that are circulating in the blood. And basically there's about 5,000 total metabolites that carry out every reaction in your body. So we're looking at a high percentage of the reactions. So if we can compare, and we did compare in all of these patient categories, and we began to see the networks that were dramatically changing in severe disease. And in fact, we've really been able to differentiate people who are severe from those that are going to die from the disease.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. We usually start with kind of some ideas of questions, and then you say something that just makes us like, oh wait, this takes us down a really good path. Yeah. So you said you did not have a background in kind of infectious disease, but through this whole situation that we've been in over the past year, you've probably made some pretty good collaborations in the infectious disease world. You knew these people, but now we're all kind of focused on this one huge problem. And the words precision wellness feel like they attack that perfectly, because we have something to, the word precision means we're very focused, and we're all very focused on COVID. So if you could talk a little bit about the collaborative element, and you said Stony Brook, you probably had people across the country who may have a piece of the puzzle that you hadn't considered that you put together. Talk about that process of finding collaborators.
Here becomes the Bio5 commercial.
Mm.
Because I've been a professor at Johns Hopkins. I've been at the University of Colorado. I was a professor for 20 years at Wake Forest, and never thought I'd leave. You guys to build this center.
Challenge accepted.
And so 2.5 years I came here, but I've never seen anything like Bio5, and that's part of the reason I came here. Bio5, and in particular, the transdisciplinary teams that were on this campus. And for me, one of the biggest one was data science, because the combination of data science together with complex biological or biochemical outputs,
Right.
And then connecting that to complex human diseases, where you may have 300 clinical endpoints, indices. So, you've got disease categories, you've got all of these clinical indices, oxygen saturation, pulmonary infiltration, all of those. And then you're bringing those together with, 2,500 metabolites. And you're trying to put all of that together to make sense. And that takes really, really transdisciplinary teams. There has to be one person like me that quite often just knows a little bit about a lot. So I don't know much about any. But I'm kind of the creative one, and so it's pulling the teams together. The infectious disease, our Stony Brook collaborator was a person I'd known that had worked on AIDS and HIV and secondary infections from that, and that was the entryway there. Wake Forest University, where I came from, 3 individuals there. One who's 86 years old, who was actually on my thesis committee,
Oh, wow.
has forgotten more stuff about infectious disease and sepsis and biochemistry than I will ever know. And then you combine that with, right now there's almost 20 folks in my lab. And then there's another group of folks that are one floor below me, that Narav, the data science folks. So
Narav Merchant and his team, what a powerhouse, huh?
Long and Shaw, and they have a $100 million grant down there. So this work, we're going, and who knows if we'll get it in, but we'll submit this to New England Journal of Medicine next week. Who knows if we'll get it in, but this work would have never been possible at any of these individual locations. It wouldn't have been possible at Wake Forest. It was only possible because, number one, I'm old and I know a lot of people. And there's also a bunch of transdisciplinary people here that we could connect all together to try to solve this extraordinarily complex issue.
You are the second person, though, I feel like that we've interviewed that has given us a great pitch. All the people we've interviewed so far have been great researchers who have done great things with the funds that they've received, but I love hearing people talk about. I'm in finance, so we we typically we live in a world of numbers, and we try to get outside that world as much as we can. This is one of the reasons why Brooke and I are doing this podcast, is to try and get outside of our scope to really understand our researchers better. And I think that is a product of Bio5, and I appreciate you saying so.
Absolutely. It takes a village, right? Especially for a problem like this, a pretty big village.
Right.
And you said yourself, you know a lot about us, or a little about a lot of things, right? Is that how you put it? So in your opinion, how does COVID-19 not only affect our physical health, but also mental, emotional health, or other aspects of our day-to-day lives?
Well, that's probably what I don't know so much about, but I will say this. I've been very fortunate to have written several lay books and that are somewhat best-selling books. And so the last book I wrote was called The Rewired Brain, and it's kind of how we mess up our lives with our unconscious minds.
Ooh.
I now have a book proposal that's being shopped called There Is Another Way. These are all fear is a devastating thing. When I first arrived, and I'm sorry, I'm going to tell a little story, but when I first arrived, we came out here, and my wife and I brought 2 Arabian horses. Now, one of these Arabians we had rescued, and the horse had never been imprinted, and it had recently been gelded. So it was a 800-pound stallion that had been abused that we had rescued. And
wow.
And, as I said, I'm not afraid of much. So I said, I can train that horse. And, I
already love this story.
I can train that horse. So, for 2 weeks, I and a cowboy, and I'm not a cowboy. I'm a redneck cowboy. I rode that horse, and he bucked me off 3 times. And then one Sunday afternoon, he decided he was going to kill me, and he broke my pelvis completely in half. And,
wow.
And so about 50% of people die from this because it cuts their femoral artery.
Oh my gosh.
And, the doctor said, we don't know if you'll walk again. This is devastating.
Wow.
And I'd just been recruited here. So what a great way to start here.
Wow.
They give me this big package, and I come out here and hurt myself. So I got a gaming chair after a week in the hospital, and had my wife strap me into the game.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm a huge meditator, and the Rewired Brain started that process. But fear is a horrible, horrible thing. And, thoughts or statements that were being said, like, you'll never walk again without a walker, or, you'll never quite honestly have a relation with your wife again because of all
my gosh.
You'll never do this, you'll never do that. And I tell people that took my meditation to a completely new level, because while I couldn't control the pain, what mindfulness did allow me to do is to control the fear, and to put the fear up there. So I have, because of these books, I have a big Facebook following, and so I've done several meditations. But I think fear and uncertainty, I think they drive us crazy. And I think I've never seen, nor have, in my 63 years, or do I ever think I will ever experience a time with more uncertainty and more fear. So I think it's been devastating. I think it's been devastating, some more than others, but especially those that where their unconscious minds completely take over. And there's no way to get around it.
And what you were saying about, I just keep thinking about the rewired brain, because we've all had to adjust to what we've been doing over the past year. And we're coming up on a year, which is kind of mind-boggling, and we don't know when it will end. But to be able to control the day-to-day fear of uncertainty, and to know like what comes next. Because I think that's what happened kind of prior pandemic. I think a lot of us could do a lot of what we do on autopilot, and
Right.
but now we've had to adjust. And
Well, there is another way.
there is.
That's the title of my next book.
I see. The sequence here is making sense.
Nice. Well, in rewiring your brain, it ties into precision wellness. If you have a pattern of behavior that is causing you to be ill, either mentally or physically, to try to unlock different elements within our own healing ability. I think that's a really important.
Our minds are so extraordinarily powerful. I remember a study when I was at Johns Hopkins. I was a professor, and in the study, some of my colleagues were teaching people about the mechanism of allergy. I was in the Johns Hopkins Asthma and Allergy Center, and they were teaching them, just lay people, the mechanism of allergy and what actually happened, and then training them to put their mind on those mechanisms. Wow. Minds are extraordinarily powerful.
I've been tried meditation a couple of times. I've been dabbling a little bit recently with just the clear your mind, like a statement to myself, because otherwise I'm like up at night, I can't sleep, and then that just causes a kind of a domino effect that we've experienced. If you can't sleep and then you're stressed, and you're not going to get better.
And this is not something that, I mean, my monkey mind went for 6 months before it really begins. So it is like yoga. It is a practice, and the practice goes on, and some days are better than others, but then some days you come out of it. Like this morning, for example, at 5:30, I came out of this morning going, oh my gosh, I am so clear today. It's such a good day.
Oh, we got you on a good day.
Yeah,
got you on a good day.
If you had gotten me yesterday, I wouldn't have
well, it's a good thing we rescheduled then. It's all good. It was meant to be. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, the universe inspires.
So we have the next Precision Wellness. The first Precision Wellness event it's on Monday. This coming Monday at 5:00. Is that correct?
I think so. I'm
That's what I have. Monday the 15th.
Bad at calendar things.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be there and host it, but I don't know. But
all right. Well, we got it on the calendars Monday the 15th at 5:00, and Dr. Warby will be speaking, and we know you have an event where you will be speaking in April that we're really looking forward to checking out as well.
Well, Dr. Warby, he is. He's first author on these science papers. I know his work right now is embargoed. I mean, these are. I've been to the best places in the world. I've been a professor. We have the best people in the world here working on this problem. So this is very, very impressive.
Great. So one last question. You've already given us a couple of great tidbits about who you are, but give us something that maybe people don't know about you. Something either non-science related or something like you in a different life. Have you been in a movie, or do you have a great singing voice? Give us. We know that riding stallions, probably want to hold off on that for a while.
Well, I love Africa. I've spent a lot of time in Africa, and I'm on the board of a nonprofit called the Persecution Project, and we were in Darfur when 2 million people were killed, and We've recently, over the last few years, been in the Nuba Mountains, which is
Wow.
another region of ethnic cleansing. So we have great logistics in Sudan, and that allows us to keep us alive, and it allows us
Wow.
to help people who are running from genocide.
Oh
So
my God.
that's it's a really it's been a I've got a T-shirt that says "I need Africa more than Africa needs me,"
Oof.
Wow.
and so Africa has really shaped the person that I've turned out to be.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that you're using your platform to share that. I applaud you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm so blessed, if I could say that word.
Well, and it definitely puts things into perspective. It's the things that we are worried about, not that they are not important, but we do have a lot to be grateful for. I think it's important to remember that we have a lot to be grateful for, and we have great teammates, we have a great organization. We're trying to do what we can, and in very difficult times to adapt. And I appreciate your leadership during this time.
Well,
Absolutely.
who gets to be us? I mean, that's the way, the gratitude each morning. I mean, who gets to be us? Who gets to do this? And we're so fortunate.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's a beautiful place to end off. Thank you very much, Dr. Chilton,
Thank you,
for
Dr. Chilton.
taking the time to join us today, and for all your work and support in precision wellness, and for encouraging us to stay well. We hope to continue to promote knowledge that will increase the quality of life for all of us. And like I said, the Precision Wellness series is going to be starting next Monday at 5 p.m. So for more information on that, please check out the Bio5 Institute website, bio5.org. Join us for future talks where we will continue to highlight our amazing University of Arizona researchers. And to learn more about the Bio5 Institute, I've said it a couple of times, please visit our website at bio5.org. From all of us here at the Bio5 Institute, thank you for joining us.
Woo, Dr. Chilton.
Thank you in the house. Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
To our audience for tuning in to another episode of Science Talks. Continue the conversation with us next time as we learn more about the science happening at the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute.